every living thing, so to speak, every sentient being, and even the insentient beings like stones or rocks, if they could speak and they would refer to themselves, they would say, I. Do they all refer to different I's? Or do they all refer to the same I? And that is the second step, so to speak, when I'm really convinced, so to speak, that what I call I is not this body-mind, not this thought, feeling, perceiving avatar, but that which is aware, I have to ask myself, is this I, this awareness, this consciousness, is it limited? Because even when I'm convinced and I have even the experiential understanding that I am that which is aware and not that which I am aware of, this doesn't free me from the fear, from the limitations, doesn't free me from my defensive mechanisms, from my protective mechanisms. Because I still see myself, maybe I see myself now as awareness, but mostly the old conditioning, the old programs of me, previously the body mind, now me awareness, is full of limiting beliefs about myself. Like I am here and you are there. You are a rock and you are a rock awareness and I'm a human awareness. And this is Adrian awareness and this is Sally awareness. I have my awareness and you have your awareness. And we can still fight about it. We mostly still confuse the point of view that was given to our avatar for this beautiful game. We confuse the point of view that is looking like a camera on this world. We confuse this awareness to be limited to this body and to this mind. So as a second step, we have to investigate if this old belief system and the old feelings in the body that come with it, of me being limited by and in this body mind, if that is true. And we can do that experientially. We don't have to do that as a philosophy, as a theory. we can just ask ourselves when we rest in and as this awareness like we do now in our shared being, when I close my eyes, being aware of being aware knowingly, I can even ask myself for a start, am I aware? And something in me will say yes. And I go there. And I rest in that. And I'm aware of being aware, knowingly. And while we're resting in our awareness, I can ask myself, is it my experience now that I have an age? Is it my direct experience, not my thought based on conditioning that I am so and so old? That is a thought that I am aware of, but is it my direct experience as awareness to have an age? Do I have a memory of being born even? Do I remember a starting point of this I, of this awareness? In other words, is the limitation of my body that was born in a certain time and space my experience as awareness? Is this limitation that belongs to my body my limitation? Or is my experience resting in this awareness possibly that I don't remember to be born, that I, without thought, my experience of myself is just being. And as I don't know a beginning to this being in my experience, and I don't know the end of this experience, I might be eternal. Do I, without referring to memory and thought, just resting in and as awareness, maybe with the support of having the eyes closed without the image that is appearing in my consciousness, do I have a form, a certain form, a weight, a gender, Isn't the form that is apparently me just a sensation appearing in me consciousness, in this awareness? That I'm aware of. But does this awareness, this consciousness, have a form in my experience? In this way, we can look and investigate the limitations that belong to my body and to my mind. And discover that this awareness, this I, is actually formless, eternal, infinite, free of limitation and free of localization. That the idea of me, my consciousness being somehow stuck in this body is just an old, conditioned perspective. And this second step, so to speak, has the power to really free me from the bondage, from the limitations. When I can truly see, understand that this I, this awareness, is not limited and doesn't belong to this avatar. But that this awareness, if it is formless, limitless, eternal, and infinite, if that is true in my experience beyond the limited thought and feeling, there is no room for other awarenesses, consciousnesses, me's in the infinite. That which we intuitively feel in our meetings, that this is one shared being, enjoying and celebrating here our togetherness. What we feel in our hearts, that we are all one, in that way we can investigate and discover also through understanding that there is nothing that could be outside of this awareness, nothing that could be outside of this consciousness. Whatever would be apparently outside in my experience of this consciousness would have to be consciousness itself, because I would have to be aware of it. I can never be aware of something outside of awareness, because it's awareness that is aware. This might sound a bit, I don't know. But this is non-duality. This is what we intuitively know, but logically also, we can infer that never ever anything outside of awareness of consciousness can be aware or conscious. And as we have figured out that I am this consciousness, this awareness, we can figure out that I am infinite, limitless. And if that clicks, if that lands, then there is no more room for a separate me. There is no more room for protective, defensive, aggressive behavior of the old separate me that needs always to defend, to protect, to justify its illusory separateness. Once and for all, I may see clearly there is no separate me. There is no ego in reality. There is just consciousness, awareness in which phenomena appear, dance its dance, and dissolve back into it. There's just one shared being enjoying itself in different forms, appearing in it, in me, different avatars that appear here on my screen that pretend to be separate me's, but in our hearts, in my heart, we intuitively know that it's not true, it's just one. And in this form of investigation, we can confirm that and show that also to our minds. Like, look, your idea of yourself being a separate me, if you look at it in your own experience, not that someone tells you who knows better than you, we can see directly, oh wow, this separate me is just thought, feelings, sensations, ideas, pictures, images. The most convincing image, my body, appearing in this I, in consciousness. And from this, so to speak, in the last stage, as I'm putting it today, don't take the stages and the words too seriously, please. Of course, it's not a chronological order or something like that. It's just to make it a bit more visible, understandable. But from this understanding, this experiential understanding that I am everywhere, from becoming nothing to becoming everything. First I'm someone, then I'm no one, and then I'm everyone. From this unlimited perspective of consciousness, of awareness, of reality, then in the last stage, which we call life, we can live this understanding, embody this understanding in our life, in our relationships, in our work. We can apply this limitlessness in our lives. We can live from that which we know what is true, which we have discovered in satsang or in which way ever as the truth. That I am a limitless, eternal being, and that everyone is that same eternal, limitless being. We can go out on the stage, back in the last stage, so to speak, and apply this understanding, this experiential understanding. And when the old habit, the old ignorant perspective of the separate me appears in me in consciousness, we smile at this so-called ego and say, ah, yeah, I know it's so convincing, but it's not true. Or at least we question, is it true? And we come maybe back to our investigation. And in that way, we commit on the path of truth to truth, to love, because love is nothing else than this dissolution, this collapse of this separation is what we experience as love when apparent two sentient beings meet in this one, and we look into our eyes like, oh, far out. You are me. I love you. And then for a while, we may live and experience life a bit as this battle that Krishna and Arjuna speak about in the Bhagavad Gita. We have to go out and take on the fight, which is not a fight for awareness, for loving awareness, but the ego fights with us. It may insist for a while to be a separate me. It may insist on its limitations. It will try out of its innocent fear to convince us that we need to be a separate me to live as this avatar in this world. And it has very convincing stories, as we all know. But when these convincing stories and these old feelings of a separate me appear in us consciousness, we have to apply our understanding, our jnana, our wisdom. Because the thoughts and the feelings and the perceptions for quite a while, for most of us, will apparently confirm the old habit, the old perspective of a separate me. The thoughts and feelings and perceptions may take a while to adapt to this new perspective of looking and experiencing life from the real perspective, from reality, from consciousness, from awareness. So it may seem for a while like a battle. The old habits trying to pull us back and to convince us of a separate me that needs to be protected, that needs to be defended. This is traditionally called faith. This faith in God is nothing else than trusting what we have discovered in satsang and in life, that our true self is actually this limitless, eternal, infinite, loving awareness, to trust that which we know beyond the limitations of our mind, that we know directly. This is why I always say that the mind cannot cross that bridge to reality, because in the mind that is by nature limited, its function is to be limited. It's part of the game plan. It's not a mistake. The mind and also the body by itself will never confirm to us our true nature. It cannot be perceived as an object. It cannot be thought of as me, as a person. It cannot be felt like a separate me. It can be known, and we do know. So the huge part of the journey with this understanding, this applying this and humbling the mind, humbling the ego, it needs to learn to accept its limitation. It needs to accept that it has to bow down. Namaste. It has to bow down to the heart of awareness that knows.